Welcome to the Money Talk podcast. It's been a very long time since I've done this. We have a lot to talk about. We're going to go over the news that came out regarding rideshare or anything that's money related over the last 7 days. So to start, we're going to talk about how rideshare drivers are pushing for the right to unionize by saying they make less than minimum wage in Boston, right? So this is coming out of Boston. I believe Boston's minimum wage is $15 per hour. And they're saying that new report shows drivers making less than $15 an hour. So let's read off what the article says, and then I'm gonna give you my thoughts. A new report from the group pushing to allow rideshare drivers to unionize shows that Uber and Lyft workers are making less than the state's minimum wage. According to the report by Drivers Demand Justice, that's a good name. That is a good name. After accounting for the time spent in waiting on vehicle maintenance, drivers in Massachusetts earn less than $15 per hour minimum. So, all right, I have thoughts on this, right? So I want to start with how much did Boston drivers make last week, right? So there's an app called Solo, and it will literally tell you how much money other drivers are making in different markets. I didn't even show you the right one. This is the Boston one. You can see the top driver in Boston made $2,347. The second driver, $1,865. The third driver, $1,584. And that was just with Lyft, right? The top driver used Uber, Lyft, and Uber Eats. The second driver used just Uber and Uber Eats. So how does this compare to the rest of the country, right? So you can also compare all drivers, right? So this is the top drivers in America, period. At least the ones that have the Solo app. It's possible that someone made more than this, but because they don't have the app, their numbers aren't going to be considered. So I didn't drive last week. I had an issue with my car. My ABS sensor went out. Like $60, 70 bucks total to fix it. It's good now. I'll drive some this week, but I didn't drive last week, so ignore my 26,893 ranking. But you can see the top driver in America is from Boston, and they made $2,312. Then Austin, Texas, with $2,297, and then New Orleans did their thing, $1,100. And you can go down. You can kind of see what's what. If I'm a driver in Boston, and I see this, and I'm making less than $15 an hour, there's a problem. When someone is able to do something in my specific market, and I'm not doing that thing, I need to figure out why. And I feel like rideshare drivers, they don't want to do that. So continuing with the story, ride-hail drivers in Massachusetts grapple with the harsh reality. Promised earnings. Let me zoom in for you guys. I'll zoom in for you guys. Promised earnings often fall significantly short of actual compensation. Drivers routinely discover their earnings to be substantially lower than expected, largely attributed to unaccounted for work time and the substantial burden of work-related expenses. Analysis of ride-hail data shows that the net earnings for a majority of drivers in the industry fall below the state's minimum wage. The median Massachusetts ride-hail driver makes just $12.82 an hour, and a full 3 out of 5 drivers they made a typo, less than minimum wage, the group says. So, one, this group is biased. You have a group that wants to form a union, and when you form a union, you have to pay the union. So there is a bias there. That doesn't mean that their concerns might not be real. But they're not going to push out information that says, oh, drivers actually make $25 per hour. And it's so I recently, I'm not going to, that's a spoiler. I got a video that I'm working on. I want you guys to see it for the first time. When you see it, I don't want to spoil it. But they're saying almost half of the typical driver gross ride-hail earnings are wiped out by driving expenses. That's really high. That's insanely high. Rough math, for every about $30 I make, I spend about $6 an hour after taxes and expenses on like cost. So I do think this is really high. I think that drivers need to do a better job of managing their business and they need to do a better job of working when there's actual money to be made, right? So they did come up with this document. So I will say, out of any group that I have seen try to get together and try to change something as far as rideshare goes, I do like this group. I might not agree with everything, but they have been very organized in what they're doing. Let's put me over here. Okay. So they have some quick facts. Expenses cancel 49 cents of every dollar earned. I'm calling cap on that for sure. 3 out of 5 drivers make less than minimum wage. I don't like how. I don't think it's the area. I don't think it's the pay. And in some places it is, right? In some places, like the problem is the area. But Boston is one of the best markets that I've seen, period. In the Boston metro area, 53% of ride-hail work happens without a passenger in a car. Let me think about that. I can kind of, okay, that makes sense. Maybe. I'm not sure. If you're canceling a lot, then this makes sense. It depends on your strategy, right? You definitely want to be in an area where you minimize how often a passenger isn't in your car. And that's going to come down to strategy. 100% of pay is uncertain. With new upfront fare system in place, 100% of driver compensation is now entirely variable. I get that. You know, that's for everyone. We are single mothers. We have families. It's not fair to make us go so far for $4 or $5. What we most want is justice. Uber and Lyft are both abusing us. Oh man. So like half of me is like, yes, go ahead and get your money. The other half of me is stop trying to be a lifelong rideshare driver. It is not worth it. And we'll find out why, but we'll keep moving forward. We're going to pay attention to this. We're going to see where it goes. I'll link to this. This is actually really good work by whoever's representing them. It's very organized. It's very to the point. It's very clear about what they want. All right. So it says this pair of driver and rider screenshots of the same June 2023 trip shows that Lyft charged the rider $28.84 and paid the driver $15.64, a 54% take rate. Now, I'm not defending Lyft. I do think they can stand to take a little less from drivers, both Uber and Lyft. But some of that is the city. Some of that's the state. Some of that is like the government getting their cut as well. Go Giga says, if you put the hours in and work when people are going places, $2,000 a week in Boston is very doable without renting a car through Uber. I agree with that. I wish, like, places I wish I could do rideshare in is New York City and Boston. I'm able to make $2,000 just chilling, right? Like 50, 60 hours, but not doing anything crazy, not working every single day in Charleston. And I know that Charleston is like a mid-cap market. It's not small, but it's not big by any means. And I know I could absolutely crush it in certain cities, but whatever. Nassif says, I don't know, maybe 2K every week is easy. I seen you do it. I'm not gonna tell him where you're at, but I've seen your name in the solo app, and I know you crush it. I see people complaining hard. It's gonna have to increase price because I'm going to retire in 4 years if they do. Yeah, man. I look. I criticize on some of this, but if prices were to increase, I benefit more than the average person would just because of the work ethic. State and city does matter. You're correct. But if you're in a state and city that works, your strategy matters even more. Like the more money there is to be made is the more your strategy matters. Well, let's move on, right? I wanna look at Las Vegas for a little bit. It's probably gonna show us an ad.
He came through the back door on the bus and...
All right, so while that's happening, we'll do some reading. Las Vegas rideshare drivers find shortcuts, share frustrations amid F1 road closure. So if you didn't know, the F1 Formula One racing, it was never ever big in America, but they've been having certain circuits. I know there was one in Florida. So they're doing one in Vegas, and it's supposed to be huge.
More road closures are in place to prepare for the race.
And many are feeling the impact, including rideshare drivers. As more roadblocks pop up, rideshare drivers say that they are constantly changing their routes and they are forced to find new shortcuts around the traffic. The latest major road closure happening at Flamingo and Koval this week is only adding to traffic around the Strip. One rideshare driver says it took 40 minutes to get from the Thomas and Mack to the Bellagio today. As for the Grand Prix itself, some Vegas rideshare drivers say that they will be leaving their cars in park that weekend.
Yeah, I'm definitely not working F1 because it gets congested.
Okay, so this is a mistake. I understand his consensus, but this is a mistake. If I were living in Vegas, I too would not drive around the F1 area, but you have to think on a bigger scope. First, your whole city is going to experience an influx of people, not just the day of, a couple of days before, a couple of days after. Those people are going to have to get to their hotels. They're going to go to the airport. They're going to want to go to restaurants. They're going to want to visit surrounding areas. I would not put myself in a position to where I would be stuck in traffic. So I wouldn't go around the F1 area. I would use the destination filter and I would stay on the outside, right? You're going to have drivers who don't use strategy getting stuck in traffic, and that's going to create surges to pop up around the city. And that's where my focus would be. And then even after a certain amount of hours after the F1 shenanigans are over, there's going to be like stragglers who still need rides, and you just soak up those bonus. Like this is why strategy is so important. So like right now, they're kind of suffering because it's taken them a long time to go places, right? And one of the examples, the driver said it took him 40 minutes to go this distance, right? And it's not far. We're talking about 2.1 miles. It's taking them 40 minutes to go from the Bellagio over to Thomas and Mack Center. So I get it, right? I get it. So then the solution isn't to just not drive. The solution is to drive somewhere else, right? You have Henderson over here. And I've been to Vegas. I've never driven in Vegas as a driver, but I'm familiar with how it works. And it's pretty much just one big circle. You have Henderson over here. You have like the richer areas over here. This is probably where I would hang out, right? You have the mountain over here. Like there are solutions to your problems, and it can't be to stay at home, because when you stay at home, you're not making money. And so that's how I would handle it. So if you're in Vegas and you're watching this, just understanding your market is the key to success when it comes to this huge event that's going to happen. It might be the biggest event that happens in Vegas for a couple years, and you definitely want to capitalize on it. Now, if you want to go off platform, get some private rides, you could do that. It might be illegal. You might get in trouble, but you could do that. I probably wouldn't do that, but there's options out here. All right, so this one I found pretty interesting, even though it's happening in Canada, and we are not in Canada. But watching how government handle rideshare I think it's important, because other places are watching. And there's actually a place in America that seems to be like mirroring what Toronto is doing. So Toronto puts temporary freeze on new Uber Lyft licenses. The freeze is intended to help raise driver wages and reduce pollution. It will remain in effect until December 2024. I swear, if Charleston, which is where I live, where I drive, put a cap on drivers, I'd be the one to benefit the most from it. But keep going. Toronto City Council has voted to freeze the number of Uber and Lyft vehicles operating in the city until it completes a report on regulating the ride-hailing industry, due by the end of 2024. The action will cap the number of registered ride-hailing operators to current levels, approximately 52,000 vehicles. Yeah, like if they had put a cap on drivers before the plant showed that got shut down in Charleston, man, it would have been fantastic. But I can see why Lyft would hate this. I can see why passengers would hate this too. I think that, so they did do a poll. Majority of I can't even pronounce this. Torontonians, I don't know. Majority of people in Toronto are concerned in the wake of rideshare freeze. So, well, let me zoom out a little bit. Here we go. So the poll found that 58% of Toronto residents think the freeze will only make life more difficult, and more expensive, while 59% think it will impact working people and lower income people especially hard. This it sounds like this poll was taken by Uber and Lyft drivers. We'll see. I'm gonna pay attention to this to see what happens, but I know that Lyft is trying to flood the market with drivers in order to like lower surges. That's their plan for getting rid of surges. And seeing a government like artificially create constraints for that, I can't say I'm on one side or the other. I do like rideshare is great for people who, you know, they've fallen on hard times. I never planned on being a rideshare driver. So having the ability to, you know, you lose your job, do rideshare until you find something else, you know, I support that. You know, even though that makes me make less money, I have always been supportive in people becoming drivers, even at my own expense. Like that's just one, I know people aren't gonna out hustle me. So even if it gets rough, I know I'm gonna out hustle everyone. And there's been times where it has been rough. And then two, I don't like the whole crab in a barrel mentality. I think that everyone can eat. So we'll see. Now I'm gonna keep paying attention to this and we'll see what happens. But here's a city who has been doing something similar, and we're kind of seeing a future version of what Toronto's trying to get at. NYC, I've reached my free article limit. It's unfortunate. So this article is about how NYC is going to lift limits. So NYC currently has limits on who can become a rideshare driver. And all right, it's going to be dead for the rest of the stream. Nothing I can do to fix it, but we're going to keep going. So if you drive an EV, they'll let you get a license plate. If it's unfortunate, but if I was living in New York City and I really wanted to be a Lyft or Uber driver, I would probably, EVs are so expensive. I'd probably get an EV to be on this list. So it is going to work. It's going to encourage people to buy EVs, which are really expensive. I really hope the prices for them go down. In fact, I wish that they would put hybrids on this list. I think hybrids are better cars for rideshare drivers. I understand that it doesn't coincide with their push for green energy, but a hybrid is still better than a gas car. So there should be some allowance for hybrid cars. But if you're in New York City, New York City is the highest paying place for Uber and Lyft drivers, like per mile. If you really wanted to be part of that crowd, I would get an EV, but I would get one used and I wouldn't pay more than 20 grand for one. Good luck finding one for less than 20 grand. Good luck. All right, moving forward. In the rideshare world, bad things always happen. But that doesn't mean we can shy away from it. So a man accused of posing as Uber driver, raping woman, leaving Boston nightclub. So this something similar like this has happened in Charleston, which is why when passengers try to get into your car, let's just listen to what they're saying.
All part of the conversation, Glenn. When the bars let out around here late at night, these streets, they just fill with all of the ride shares. And what police say happened here over the weekend has a lot of people thinking about just how important it is to make sure you get in the right one.
I think it's definitely easier to do than you think.
Requesting a ride is simple, but passengers say finding the right car in a place as busy as downtown Boston can be confusing, to say the least.
The license plate number, like what kind of car it is, but even checking it, like sometimes things could happen.
And police say that confusion led to
I don't understand what that means. Even checking it, things could happen. What does she even mean by that? I mean, if it matches, right? It's not how it
horrifying
works.
outcome for one woman in Boston over the weekend.
People are evil and have evil intentions.
They say she was leaving Bijou nightclub Saturday morning when she got into a car she thought was her Uber and ended up getting raped. This is the wanted bulletin police initially put out of the driver.
Guys, if you see that 3ZBH67, you'll report it. For real.
29-year-old Quabel Najib of Worcester. He's now behind bars.
Oh, he's
According
caught
to
already.
court documents, he drove her past the Boston Common and came to a stop here near Storrow Drive. The woman telling police she remembers seeing the back of brownstones as he put a T-shirt over the window and sexually assaulted her.
It emphasizes how important the work we do is.
That's messed up. Man, I don't know That's messed up. I'm actually follow this case, and we'll see how many years he gets. He deserves to be in there for a very, very, very long time. Very long time. And this is why Amazon like sued that. So there's a reseller on Amazon. He got sued for making Lyft and Uber signs. I'm sure you've seen this either on other cars, or you might have seen this article already. But this is why they did it, because they don't want people posing as Uber and Lyft drivers. Now, I don't know how much this is actually going to stop people from quote unquote posing, but we'll see. You know, that this happened back in June, and the case we just watched happened, you know, last week. So we'll see. All right, so next story. Autonomous rideshare company hoping to launch in Dallas faces second, not the first, second federal investigation. Federal regulators have launched a second investigation into the autonomous driving systems used by the rideshare company Cruise. I'm sure you guys have heard of Cruise. They say that the system may not have exercised appropriate caution around pedestrians. Right now, Cruise operates in San Francisco, Phoenix, and Austin, and they hope to launch their service in Dallas before the end of year. I know a lot of rideshare drivers think that this isn't coming, that this isn't happening, that these cars are too stupid to operate without humans. And today you are correct. They can't. But every mile that they drive in one car, if that one car learns from that 1 mile, they just spread that information to all the cars. So all of these neural net systems are learning at the same time. Like Uber and Lyft have made it painfully clear, said it in plain words, that their goal is to become driverless. Yet rideshare drivers are still trying to make rideshare their full-time income. Andrew says, I'm in Dallas and seeing these around lately. They're here. Even just one self-driving car on the road hurts rideshare's pockets, like rideshare drivers' pockets. So like I'm a big proponent of making sure that you're doing the work to use rideshare as a stepping stone. Like I don't plan right now. I'm in debt. I'm on the Dave Ramsey plan. And once I'm out of debt, I'm going to significantly decrease how much I drive with rideshare. And I'm going to start investing into different businesses. You know, I might get a cargo van, do some cargo work, make videos about that. I might have more time to be a YouTuber. I believe that rideshare is a great way to step into something better. And I believe every year it's going to be harder and harder to do that. So like, I'm a big proponent of they're telling us in our face, they don't want us here as humans, you know. Humans rape people, you know. A machine is not going to do that. So at least we hope it's not going to do that. Yo, that's dope. You have no debt. So what's your goal then? What's your goal with Uber and Lyft? Like what's your next stepping stone? I want to hear about that. Andrew, I do agree that good drivers, I'm not going to say good drivers will always be in demand, but I think that good drivers will last the longest. That's what I was saying. Retire in 5 to 6 years. Okay. You know about the infinite money glitch where you have a certain amount of money invested, and that amount of money both pays for your lifestyle and defeats inflation. You should look into it if you don't know about it. All right. So this one's about a Murder Beach driver who wrote a book. He's actually in the Facebook group I'm in. I'm pretty sure he comes down to Charleston. Let's just see what they're saying. It's probably going to be an ad.
Hi, I'm Tom.
While that's going on. An Uber driver, unlike any other, has been so inspired by his passengers that he decided to write a book about them, which is pretty sweet. You know, we get a lot of negative news stories about rideshare drivers. So it's nice to finally get some positivity out of the rideshare space. I can't even scroll. If I scroll, the video stops. So we're just going to have to wait until this ad is done. Here we go.
Other who has been so inspired by his passengers that he actually decided to write a book about them.
ABC 15's Mike Owens spoke with this Uber driver turned author today. He joins us live in studio to tell us all about the book. Mike?
Myrtle Beach resident Jeff Honig has been driving rideshare part-time for the past 5 years. More than 12,000 rides later, he's written a book about his experiences. Jeff Honig has spent more than 25 years as a delivery driver. But there's one thing he likes delivering more than anything else.
Delivered boxes as a courier. I've delivered newspapers. I've delivered circulars, telephone books. The best thing I've ever delivered is people.
It's his passion for people that led him to write a book.
As much as I do like people, I do like when the thing I'm delivering can't talk to me.
Book called Driving on the Sunny Side with 10,000 Strangers. For the past 5 years as a rideshare driver, he's kept notes on some of the passengers that have made him laugh and inspired him. It's those special moments that he wants to share with others. His book features chapters like My 3 Favorite Rides, Great Quotes, and Sports Talk Uber.
Never know one week, 1 month to the next, who I'm going to meet, what they've done, where they're from, and my car itself is a museum because of my passengers.
Honig's car features various things that writers have given him over the years, like a mannequin head from a hairdresser and currency from 38 different countries that he proudly displays.
And so
that's pretty cool. I always think about decking my car out, but I don't know. I'm a simple person. Andrew says the service we provide is more than just operating a vehicle. We are a friend, tour guide, guidance counselor, all in one. I agree with you. I've actually considered starting businesses. For example, doing YouTube, I've learned how to operate a camera. I've thought about doing, photo packages. I can just pick people up from the airport. Oh, you're a visitor. Would you want to hang out with me for the weekend? I'll take you to several different destinations and I'll take pictures for you and give you a photo book. So there's definitely opportunities in there to launch businesses. But I do agree with you. Customer service does go a long way. And I've learned that those who have great customer service skills are those who make tips. You know how to talk to your passenger, knowing how to talk to your passenger, knowing when to talk to your passenger. Because some people don't even want to talk. Some people will appreciate it if you just have the social skills to know that. And Asif says, if I retire in 5 to 6 years and people are still complaining, I won't know what to say. Both Mario and I. And in 5 to 6 years, I will be done. All right, I'm glad you have an exit goal. I'm glad you have an exit strategy. I do think in about 5 years, that'll be what, 2028? I think they have been saying by 2030, they want some, not just self-driving cars, but electric cars. And if I'm forced to drive an electric car and the prices of electric cars haven't come down and the ranges aren't good, I'm definitely not going to be in there. And I think that my future will always have a foot in rideshare, especially if I'm going to be a content creator. Because even if I graduate from rideshare and I start different businesses, I will always feel some type of pull to make sure that I'm covering a percentage of rideshare for the subscribers I have. I want to make sure I look out for them. I want to make sure I'm continuing to convince people, to step forward into something else. Andrew says, I'm a people person, but I like making profits too. His story is interesting, but I think it's just irresponsible to tell all drivers to accept every offer like he does. IMO. I do think there's a time and place for everything. But I have found it depends on your market. Yeah, I will say it depends on your market, depends on your strategy. I like Jeff. I don't know everything he stands for, but I do know that whenever he participates in conversations, he's logical. And that's what I like. If even if I disagree with your strategy, if you're at least logical about it and you're not emotional and you're willing to look at the numbers, which he does, I'll always support that. All right, so now we're in the Reddit portion of the day, where if you don't know what Reddit is, its tagline is the front page of the internet, and we have other drivers who post to these Uber driver subreddits and Lyft subreddits. So we'll just quickly go through some of them, see what they're talking about, see what they're getting into. So I want you guys to guess. This guy says he's not sure if he got a $40 tip or a $60 tip, right? He realized that I can't even zoom in on this. Oh my God. There we go. He got this $20 tip from the same driver, and then he got a $40 tip from the same driver. Is that going to be $40 total, or is that going to be $60 total? What do you guys think? Andrew says, I agree. He's a good guy. We just disagree. Whatever works. Like you said, know your numbers. Yeah, know your numbers is important. A lot of people, they don't want to do that part of the work. They just want to get in the car, drive, come home, hop on Facebook and complain. The rider decided to up their tip on that trip from $20 to $40. Congrats, which is cool. You don't see, that's usually I'll tip you in the app and it never happens. But it's cool to see that, you know, someone enjoyed the ride so much that one, they tipped $20, and then two, they changed it to $40. That's pretty dope. I support that. Why do cancellations not count as rides for quests? I think this is a fantastic question, one that I've asked myself as well. I was just thinking about it this weekend. As I was trying to go for my weekend quest, and I had driven to the pickup spot, was waiting patiently there, and then the rider canceled. Yes, I got my cancellation fee, but I used my gas that I paid for, I don't know who else would pay for it, to drive to the pickup spot and was waiting for the rider who canceled after I had already arrived. Why should that not count towards my quests? I mean, honestly, stops too should count towards quests. Kind of agree with this, especially if they're added after the rider gets in the car. Super agree with that, but that's another discussion. So, you know, I agree here. If the driver is given a quest, and if it's not their fault, right? If the driver didn't cancel the ride, I think it should still count towards their quest. Yes, because the quest is for completed trips, we understand that. I feel it should be based on the ride amount. Longer rides should have more weights than short rides. This is also a really good point, because like he says here, it really discourages you from taking long rides. And I like long rides, and not just for the dollar value. Long rides are not always worth it. The only time I find it worth it is if there's traffic in my city, and that long ride will take me out of the traffic, and that long ride helps me make more money than I would have otherwise made. Then I will consider it. But if I'm trying to hit a quest, I won't. Even if I think the ride's a good ride, if I average 3 rides every hour, in 4 hours, that's 12 rides. If I take a 2-hour ride in one direction, and then I have to drive 2 hours back, that's 1 ride. It's just not worth it if you have ride quests. As he says, the whole quest thing they need to do better with. The Uber quests suck in Charleston. I will say that. I think Lyft has better quests, which is why I typically do Lyft. But I will say, without quests, without bonuses, without any of that stuff, Uber is better than Lyft. Oh man, if you ever come, you just hit me up. I'll give you all the spots. I'll pick you up from the airport. Shoot. Andrew says, I think it helps some people who want to tip but either can't figure out the app or forget to tip later. And that's true. I think that a lot of people who say they'll tip us in the app, I think they just forget. Sometimes tips come like weeks. Like sometimes people don't use Lyft more than like once a month, and they will forget to tip until the next time they open the app. So it does happen. I try not to assume malice to what I can attribute to ignorance, you know? So this is kind of like story time, I guess. First physical threat due in Uber Black. I warned them that the location they were going to recently had an incident where someone with a big chain got robbed. This is in Chicago. So they took that as a threat somehow, then threatened to physically harm me. So I got out the truck and called 911 as they were coming after me. This is not funny. Stop laughing. The police hung up on me, and I was shaking and fearing for my life. Luckily, they didn't do anything, and I was able to get back to my truck and drove off. F Chicago PD, useless pieces of crap. If the PACs would have done anything, I would be suing the crap out of the police for doing that. I'm not sure that would stand, but whatever. Lesson learned, even doing Uber Black in Chicago, you're not safe. I was in the loop too. I don't know what that means. That might be like a Chicago thing. Not the south side or what side. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on with that passenger. But like he says, glad to know nothing happened. Sorry you had that experience with the rider. I've never had anything like this happen. I've had the only weird things that happen are around me, right? Like one time I picked up a passenger, the cops were there, and he had told me what happened. He said he was there with a woman and her kids, and the father of the kids came. And you know, so like I only see weird things happen around me and never really to me, so I'm thankful. But you know, you always have to be on guard because these things are real and they do happen. Steve says, am I the only one who gets reservations? I can't see that number. That's not your fault. Gets 10 reservations a day from the airport. I don't go to the airport. I mean, I'll go there if I get pinged, but I'm definitely not taking reservations from the airport. And most of that's because I work. I kind of work overnight. I'm working the dead hours. What's going on here? So this, I've seen some photos of this, and I think this is gonna come like everywhere nationwide. And it says very high, very high, very high. There's no numbers anymore, so it's looking like surge. The showing surge on the map will be like disappearing. I've been sitting like this for 20 minutes, over 20 minutes. I'm completely at a loss with this new effed up map system. Does purple mean it's busy, or does it mean that I have a potential of making more money if Uber ever decides to send me a ride? You can be in a bonus zone and not get a ride. I don't think. Yeah, I'm not. I don't know. Looks like the Weather Channel now. That's funny. Looks like a dog threw up Skittles. I was about to say flood warning. We'll see. I'm definitely paying attention to this. I did see some screenshots where, someone was outside of the zone and they looked at how much the ride was. They drove 2 minutes into the zone and they looked at the surge. And even though there was a surge on it, it was the same exact price. The same exact price. So this is something to watch. But Uber and Lyft are always going to look for ways to cut into how much money they have to pay drivers. Like that's something we have to accept, and that's something we have to learn to navigate around. So I got a parking ticket while my passengers got in my car. So tonight I was downtown. It gets extremely busy where it is, and there's absolutely no parking. This is just like Charleston on Friday, Saturday, and Thursdays. I did that tonight. So you have to contact your rider and tell them to be ready to jump in. They're more lenient than that. I did that tonight, and my passengers were standing in front of the club where I was picking them up at. So I put my hazards on, and they're jumping in, and a lady with parking patrol suit knows I'm an Uber driver and sees my passengers getting in, and she gets to the back of my car and takes a picture of my plate. That's unfortunate. I don't like that. You're nothing against the woman who did it, but she's obviously taught to do that, and I think that's ridiculous. Unless your state is putting areas that are dedicated for pickup, you need a solution, right? You can't create a problem and not have a solution to it. Even my passengers were like, "What the F? You're not even parking." I was sitting still for 5 seconds with no cars behind me while they got in and took a picture of my plate. All I have to say is, what a bitch. I'm sure they have to hit some type of quota, and that's probably true. Some type of quota. She thought she was an easy one. So I'm assuming I'll receive a parking ticket in the mail soon. I don't even know how to go about appealing it. The best way to go about appealing it would be to have a dash cam camera. That's literally the only way. Every driver needs to have one. Honestly, just so annoyed of the situation. I don't know where else I could park. There's literally no parking. Of course, I'm not familiar with this area. There could be, these are self-posts. There could be something that they're missing out to make themselves look better. Stopping is different from no parking. No stopping is different from no parking. That's true. There's different signs for these two things. Yep, I cancel on packs and want to be picked up in a no stopping zone if they aren't standing ready. F them. I had one try. Sometimes I'll just drive around. It depends on how I'm feeling. But if I feel like I'm being an inconvenience on the road, I'll figure it out. But I'll always make sure I go there and put that I've arrived. And if I drive around, it's while I've hit that I've arrived. Go Giga says the Uber surge map in Massachusetts is on a 4-minute timer start to finish. That's pretty good, because I heard they've increased it. Prices will increase, decrease after 4 minutes. Okay, that's not bad. For Lyft, I know in Charleston it's 5 minutes, and I think for Uber they changed it to 7 minutes. I'm not sure how you're getting away. Oh, I see what you're saying. The surges change every 4 minutes. Okay. So I never knew the time frame, but I did know that there was a time frame. And the problem with Uber is that their maps don't update when their server does. So if you see something and it's like 10 seconds before it's about to switch over, the map might not change. But when you get pinged for a ride, it will. So what I do is I'll close the entire Uber app and then reopen it to make sure that the information is accurate. Yeah, that's really good information. I'm actually gonna pin that. That's excellent. Okay, I can't pin it because I don't know what I'm doing. It's my first time live streaming in like over a year. But thanks for that information. All right, so I like this one. Atlanta reaches a new low. We'll just click on it. So someone complained about airport pickup, and I know airports pickups used to pay a lot better back in the day. But here we are. It's not terrible. 16-minute drive, 20-minute total. It's not horrible. It's not the best. It's not horrible. And then the person says these trips used to pay almost $30. I don't see how anyone can beat their car for this full time. This is why I have this on the show, because I have a screenshot. And this is from Solo again, of how much money drivers are making in Atlanta. You know, not as much as Boston, but $2,129, $1,881. You can definitely make money in Atlanta, even if you're getting bad rides. I'm from Atlanta. I'm not from Atlanta, but I used to live there. I never did Uber or Lyft there. But when I go there for holidays, I'll look at the map and I'm like, okay, I understand. I get it. I get it. So the reason I'm highlighting this is because if you let this one ride turn you off from making money, and look at the time, it's 10:14. I don't know if it's day or night, but if it's in the day, this is not a great time to drive, especially not in Atlanta, because traffic, you know. Catch you without airport tag, find you. So yeah, there's that. Andrew says some drivers' entire strategy revolves around the airport. I think you have to switch things up if the app algorithm sees. And I agree. There's a time and place for everything. You know, if you want to be a mechanic, you have to be good with different tools, right? The hammer is not always going to be the best solution. You might not always need a jack, or you just have to know what best tool fits what situation. And you have to be flexible. And a lot of people don't want to be flexible. They find one thing that kind of works and they stick to it, but they'll never find the thing that works best because they've always stick to it. I still try new things, and sometimes I lose, right? Sometimes I might make like $15 an hour trying something new, driving in a new part of town, and you know, and just failing. But the only reason I know everything I know now is through failing, just trying new things. All right, so you know, we get a lot of drivers complaining about how much money they're not making. We have one driver talking about how much money he did make. I just wanted to highlight it. He said he had a unicorn of a shift. So for the U of I, which is the University of Illinois, it's homecoming. Friday night was a basketball game, and Saturday was a football game. That's pretty dope. I expected to be pretty busy, but never expected after the game to go 9 consecutive hours with surges. That's dope. Not a single ride not having any surges. Every ride had $1 to $18 surge on it. All of this is totaling 12 hours. It's my best shift in months. Usually it would take me about like 15 to 18 hours to make this kind of money, like if it's not super busy. Great send off to Rideshare though. I'm training with local mass transit district to be a bus operator. So I've already dropped from full-time Uber to part-time. Once my 9 weeks training is over, Uber will be a thing of the past for me. And this is what I promote. Uber and Lyft, great transitionary jobs. But he was using it for something better. And he'll always be an Uber driver. You know, even if his, you know, something happens, he has to take time off work, or you know, his kid is in the hospital, he can always like flex himself back into Uber to fill in the gaps if he ever needs to. And this is why I'm highlighting this. You have to, when events are happening in your town, you have to know about them, and you have to know how to attack them. So I'm super supportive of this. Yeah, that's me. It's me just clapping my hands. It's good you know when to quit if that's the best in your market in months. Like Debbie Downer over here. Not a lot of desperate drivers can say that. Uber got them by the balls. I'm down to working under 16 hours a week now, and only on the weekend. I don't work for Uber. Only Uber work for me. Okay. If Uber doesn't send a good pay, I'm not driving. I'm still doing good because I'm not desperate. Anything less than $40 an hour is a bad day. That's pretty high. Like $40 an hour is great. I make $40 an hour on Friday, Saturday, but not every day. And I will take an hourly pay cut if it means I make more money that week. You know, if driving on Tuesday, slowest day of the week, results in $30 an hour, I'm not gonna not do that just because I'm used to having $40 an hour. I think sometimes people miss out on the bigger scale of things. The government doesn't tax you based off of how much you make per hour. The government taxes you based off how much money you make per year. That's the number people need to like start aiming for. Andrew, thank you for coming, man. Yeah, I'm gonna start doing these every Monday. As consistently as possible, and I'll still come out with my regular videos, but I want to interact more with you guys, and my other videos take longer to edit, so this is a good middle ground to making sure I'm keeping up with the rideshare space. But I appreciate you for coming. All right, so let's move forward. This should be illegal. So let's recap. I picked up a passenger at the airport. Upfront pricing was $14. Passengers added a second stop back to the airport from the same location. Ride took 44 minutes instead of the 14. Passenger got a free airport ride, and I got to pay the same. And I got paid the same. Great business model. Thank you. He's talking to support. This is not the experience I'm wishing for you to have with Lyft. I want to make things right for you, however my hands are tied. I've had this happen to me. We've spoken about this, where I picked someone up. He forgot his wallet at the airport. I took him to his place, took him all the way back during traffic. He gave me some cash for it. We all agreed on it ahead of time. The only problem I have with what he's saying is that the passenger got a free ride. The passenger probably paid more, and Lyft took that money. So Lyft got more money out of this whole thing. So this is awful. I don't like how passengers can just hop in a car and add more stops to a ride. But if a driver wants to cancel it after accepting it, it hits their cancellation fee. That's not okay, right? Like it's not fair, because when I accept a ride, it's based off of the parameters that were given to me. Oh, this ride is going to take 5 minutes and it's going from X to X. I will take that ride. But then they change it after I accept it. I should have the ability to cancel it without any negative repercussions. Like C equal says, no, the passenger paid, you just got none of it. So I think this is super unfair. I would love for Lyft to fix this. So this is just scam. I've been hit with the scam before, not successfully because I knew it was a scam. But whenever someone, I just want to show you guys this. I want to make sure you guys do not lose your accounts. They want you to text you on your phone number, because your phone number is how you log into your Lyft account. Now, fortunately for me, I have a business phone and my personal phone. So when I was like messing around with them, I was considering making a video about it. I ran out of time. I was really trying to hustle and get like some streak bonuses done. So I didn't even make a video out of it. But just be aware, right? They'll order. What these guys will do, they'll get access to someone else's Uber account or Lyft account. This is Lyft in this situation. They'll order a ride, not even being in that same town. They'll order a ride. They'll tell you to pull over, verify, blah, blah, blah. And then they want you to call them and then give you the license number. And that's how you log into Lyft, with your phone number and your license. You got to be very, very aware when this is happening. A lot of people get scammed this way. They'll log into your account and just take all your money, man. And then getting your account back will be hard. So just be aware of it. Be aware. All right. So I have a Volkswagen Jetta, and I've never done any XL. I've never done any Lux. I am interested, but someone asked, I have a GMC Acadia. Are there good profits in Los Angeles area doing XL and Lux? First comment is Lyft to discontinue Lux as of this week, right? So that's something that happened that's new, but it's not everywhere. It's not everywhere. Lux is done. How are your drivers faring? Slowing down, making enough to keep driving. Here's a few questions. I'm not going to read all of that. Someone says Uber Black in California, you'll need a TCP number, commercial insurance, and that's a lot. I can understand why there's not a lot of people doing it. I do regular Lyft and Uber X. It's been busy. No one's really answering the question. But something I found interesting was that there's no option for comfort on passengers ride. Even though this is New York City, I think, if I know geography, this looks like Manhattan. This is Bronx. This is New Jersey. I could be wrong. I could be just making stuff up. Baychester, Co-op City. Yeah, this is New York City. This is New York City. I used to live in Queens. So where the hell is New York City? Here we go. So they're saying that this is higher than Lux Black in Chicago. But even though there's no option for extra comfort on passenger app, he's still getting comfort rides. So there's something missing here. There's not everyone's app is on the same thing. It doesn't look like Lyft has completely switched over from XL. I don't really know what's going on. I don't have the ability to take those rides, so I kind of haven't really been paying attention. So 6 rides away from guaranteed earnings. I also got a rental for this weekend, mistake, just to get the 44 rides quick, and Lyft shuts me down. So usually when I see people complaining about being close to hitting a bonus, it's usually their fault. You know, they're not aware of the you have to take a 6-hour break for every 12 hours work. They're just not aware of that. And so they'll blame Lyft for this. But in this specific scenario, if Lyft is just going to like throw up a background check, there needs to be an on-ramp, right? There needs to be a warning. Hey, we're going to run your background check in X amount of days. And they tell you to keep it mount with Lyft. It takes a few, like this is pretty awful. It's not a good look. And I think in this scenario, 38 rides or 44 rides, you throw this at them and they don't have a chance to finish. You definitely have to you got to pay up for that. That's not fair. There are no coincidences. Lyft knows. I don't believe in all that. I'm never going to attribute to malice what I can attribute to ignorance. So I'm not, this isn't my go-to thought. It's possible, right? These companies are douchebags sometimes, but this isn't my go-to thought. There are no coincidences. Lyft knows what they're doing. I will always say, don't go for the guarantees or challenges. That's terrible advice. There's no point when they can throttle you whenever they want. I'm pretty sure this doesn't happen that often to the same person, and they will always make it hard to complete. Like, I don't believe all of this. This one was, after an hour on customer support, they fixed it. I made a point to do the shortest trips. I did 44 trips and would have made 140 off of them. Got an extra 480 from Lyft and went to bed. I don't know what this means. Got an extra. Does that mean like they felt sorry for him and gave him more money, or I don't know. And went to bed. It was a grand total of 9 hours driving. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. This guy doesn't respond. So happy story in the end. But if he didn't hit it and it was the direct result of this, that would have been a problem. But shouts out to him for like putting in the effort and not just giving up. A lot of people would just give up. We don't give up out here. All right, so this one we can skip. We're running out of time. I only got 8 minutes left. We're gonna skip this one too. Yeah, skip this one. Just complaining. What cameras are we using these days? Now, this is an important one. My dash cam is on its last leg, and I know if I don't replace it soon, I won't have footage the one time I need it. I feel that. Like I have to pull my memory card out and dump it on my hard drive almost every single day. Sometimes I forget to put my memory card back in, like with me, in my key, so I can put it back into the car. And I feel so uncomfortable driving without it because I've been accused twice of doing things. Once I was accused of like locking the passenger in the car and saying sexual things to her. And if I didn't have that dash cam, I wouldn't even be here on YouTube talking about Lyft because I'd be banned still. And I have that video up if you want to see it. And more recently, someone with a dog got into my car. I took him, no complaints. You know, the dog was friendly. I was friendly to the dog. But because he wanted to get a free ride, he said that I was being rude to him because he had a dog. And if I didn't have the video to send to Lyft, they didn't ban me, but it would definitely like be a red flag on my account. So I'm going to make that video. I have the footage. I save all the footage because you never, someone can make a complaint a week later. And if you have a dash cam that records over itself, you'll lose it. So I always dump my footage, always. But I want to show you this because I wanted to tell you that all of these people who make dash cam cameras, they use the same image sensor, the same camera. They're all made by Sony. So what you're really paying for is form factor and features. So get the form factor and features that work for you, but don't focus too much on the quality because by and large, most of the quality is the same. I made a huge mistake. I bought a $700 dash cam system, but I could have found one that was cheaper and did the same and did what I needed it to do. Now the one I use has a lot of features, but I don't even use them. So I'm not even going to recommend it. But when it comes to dash cams, get the one that works for what you need it. Make sure it points inside, make sure it can record at night. And if you want to get one that records your trunk and records in the front, do that. But I don't do that trunk part. So save yourself some money on that. Maybe I'll do a video dedicated on that. So this is just a good ride, a good map. But I want to point out that he was at a party and decided to check the map and missed out on peak hour. But if it's 7 o'clock, I assume at night, he should know that this is when he says unlock code. He could be new. He could be new. He doesn't know, but he's just it is good that he is starting to pay attention. Right? There was a time period Oh, thanks, man. Great show tonight. Thank you. I appreciate it. We're almost over, and I appreciate the love and support. But there was a time where, I wasn't sure if waking up at 3 a.m. would make money. This is back when I was like newer. So what I would do is I would wake up and I would just look at the map with no intention of actually leaving, and I would take a mental note of it. If you're a new driver, or if you're not sure when to drive, you can take periodic looks throughout your day of the map. Doesn't mean you have to go out and do it, but there's going to be habits that form. Like, I know 4 a.m. in the morning, a bunch of people need to get to the airport, and there's not a lot of drivers. Like, you can also look at the scheduled ride pages to see where a cluster of rides might be, and you can capitalize off of that. So, he might be new, he's a gold, but he could also just be a bad driver and just doesn't accept trips. Who knows? Let's find out. Let me ask. How long have you been driving? Let's see what he says. Well, I'll put that on the podcast next week if he responds. All right, so NYC rates. Just quickly want to show you guys how much people in NYC on Lux Black make per mile. Look at the minimum rate, $10. $2 per mile. That's pretty good. I wish I was in NYC, but it's expensive. You have a higher cost of living, and you can't get plates anymore unless you have an electric car. So that's something that needs to be factored in as well. All right, so this one was end to medical rides, and will we end here? Let me see what else we got. Okay, no, we can't end here. So let's zoom through this. All right. So typing this as I sit in tears in my car. Just picked up from the hospital. I know nurse was waiting at the pickup queue and promptly deposited. Weird choice of words. Apparently non-walking. Did not know. Non-hearing disabled gentleman can't legally refuse at this point. Get to the drop-off at assisted living facility, and there was no one to greet him. He fell getting out of my car and fainted for a moment. Could not get up. I only figured out he couldn't walk as he started crawling on his butt once he came to. I had to flag down someone else in the parking lot to help me while I tried to find assistance. There was no one to buzz me in, no nurse, nothing. Eventually someone visiting a relative pulled in and was able to assist. They were able to get what looked like a laundry trolley to help him in. I would be liable if he says I injured him. This is not okay. I am not a trained nurse or medical personnel. Why in that would you put someone that is disabled in Lyft with no companion? Also, messaging Lyft and they are absolutely no help. So I feel this. One time I picked up an older gentleman from the hospital. He was going 5 minutes away. And the second I picked him up, he told me, "Can you call the ambulance? I need some oxygen." I was confused, super confused. 2 minutes down the road. So I did exactly what he said. I called, asked for oxygen. They told me I needed to pull over. I was like, he wanted me to tell the ambulance to meet us at the destination, but they told me to pull over. They came, took him out my car, took him right back to the hospital. So like, I don't feel liable. It was for sure some drama that day. I have that video still. I'll have to find it and show you guys. But I feel this. I do like that there's a partnership with hospitals because more rides is more money. I'm not gonna sometimes they have good long rides and I've benefited from that. But there are cases where, if someone just has surgery, I get why you don't want them in your car. That's like an extra liability, an extra problem. So I feel for this. All right, so the next one we're gonna end on is a short one. And if anyone could beat this offer, please let me know. It hit 50 cents to go from Los Angeles International Airport to Palos Verdes and whatever that is. And I pulled it up on the map ahead of time. So this is what the trip would be. And it's legit, right? And of course you have traffic at this time. It's 12 miles. That's still pretty far. That's a little trip. And you're talking about LA traffic, so I get it. And I don't know I doubt this is photoshopped, but it says 50 cents. That's awful. 50 cents. That's pretty crazy. It's a privilege to drive for Lyft. I appreciate you guys coming out. Won't have any new videos this week. I might chop this up and just put them out there, but I will have there's something going on with my YouTube account, and I'm gonna make a video about that next week. And then the week after that, I'm gonna have a banger. It's gonna be so good, and I don't want to spoil anything, but it's gonna be really excellent. I'm sorry that my camera died For those of you who are just tuning in, I have to figure that out. But I appreciate you guys coming. Bro, I don't know. Barnes says there's no way that's an actual screenshot. It's terrible. Like I don't know if there's includes. I don't know, man. But there's some stuff that pops up in here. But this is definitely the one to beat. Definitely the one to beat. It's been fun hanging out with you guys. I hope you guys come back next week Monday, man. I'll be here. I appreciate you guys.